Well, hello and welcome back. You must be wondering what this enchantress is going to do next in The Little Mermaid. So let's find out just how she can help her to see if she can let the Little Mermaid's dreams come true. Enjoy. So the Little Mermaid left the garden and went to the foaming whirlpool beyond, in which dwelt the enchantress. She'd never been this way before. Neither flowers nor seagrass bloomed along her path, and she had to traverse an extent of bare grey sand till she reached the whirlpool, whose waters were eddying and whizzing like mill wheels, tearing everything they could seize along with them into the abyss below. She was obliged to make her way through this horrible place in order to arrive at the territory of the enchantress. Then she had to pass through a boiling, slimy bog, which the enchantress called her turf moor. Her house stood in a wood beyond this, and a strange abode it was. All the trees and bushes around were polypi, looking like 100-headed serpents shooting up out of the ground. Their branches were long, slimy arms with fingers of worms, every member from the root to the uttermost tip, ceaselessly moving and extending on all sides. Whatever they seized they fastened upon, so that it could not loosen itself from their grasp. The little mermaid stood still for a minute looking at this horrible wood. Her heart beat with fear, and she would certainly have returned without attaining her object, had she not remembered the prince and immortality. The thought gave her new courage. She bound up her long waving hair that the polypi might not catch hold of it, crossed her delicate arms over her bosom, and swifter than a fish could glide through the water, she passed these unseemly trees, who stretched their eager arms out after her in vain. She could not, however, help seeing that every polypus had something in its grasp, held as firmly by 1,000 little arms as if enclosed by iron bands. The whitened skeletons of a number of human beings who'd been drowned in the sea and had sunk into the abyss grinned horribly from the arms of these polypi. Helms, chests, skeletons of land animals were also held in their embrace. Among other things might be seen even a little mermaid whom they had seized and strangled. What a fearful, fearful sight for the unfortunate princess! But she got safely through this wood of horrors, and then arrived at a slimy place where immense fat snails were crawling about, and in the midst of this place stood a house built of the bones of unfortunate people who'd been shipwrecked. Here sat the witch, caressing a toad in the same manner as some persons would a pet bird. The ugly fat snails she called her chickens, and she permitted them to crawl about her.
"I know what you would ask of me," she said to the little princess. "Your wish is foolish enough, yet it shall be fulfilled, though its accomplishment is sure to bring misfortune on you, my fairest princess. You wish to get rid of your tail, and to have instead 2 stilts like those of human beings, in order that a young prince may fall in love with you, and that you may obtain an immortal soul. Is that not so?"
Whilst the witch spoke these words, she laughed so violently that her pet toad and snails fell from her lap.
"You have come just at the right time," continued she. "Had you come after sunset, it would not have been in my power to have helped you before another year. I will prepare a drink for you, with which you must swim to land. You must sit down upon the shore and swallow it, and then your tail will fall and shrink up to the things which men call legs. This transformation, however, will be very painful. You will feel as though a sharp knife passed through your body. All who look on you after you have been thus changed will say that you are the loveliest child of earth they have ever seen. you will retain your peculiar undulating movements, and no dancer will move so lightly, but every step you take will cause you pain all but unbearable. It will seem to you as if you are walking on the sharp edges of swords, and your blood will flow. Can you endure all this suffering? If so, I will grant you your request.
"Yes, I will," answered the princess with a faltering voice, for she remembered her dear prince and the immortal soul for which her suffering might win.
Only consider, said the witch, that you can never again become a mermaid when once you have received a human form. You may never return to your sisters and your father's palace, and unless you shall win the prince's love to such a degree that he will leave his father and mother for you, that you shall be mixed up with all his thoughts and wishes, and unless the priest join your hands so that you become man and wife, you will never obtain the immortality you seek. The morrow of the day on which he is united to another will see your death. Your heart will break with sorrow, and you will be changed to foam on the sea.
"Still I will venture," said the little mermaid, pale and trembling as a dying person.
Besides all this, I must be paid. It is no slight thing I require for my trouble. Thou hast the sweetest voice of all the dwellers in the sea, and thou thinkest by its means to charm the prince. This voice, however, I demand as my recompense, the best thing thou possessest. I require in exchange for my magic drink, for I shall be obliged to sacrifice my own blood in order to give it the sharpness of a two-edged sword.
"But if you take my voice from me," said the princess, "with what have I left to charm the prince with?"
Thy graceful form, replied the witch, thy modest gait and speaking eyes. With such as these it will be easy to infatuate a vain human heart. Well now, hast thou lost thy courage? Put out thy tongue, that I may cut it off and take it for myself in return for my magic drink.
"Be it so," said the princess, and the witch took up a cauldron in order to mix her potion.
Cleanliness is a good thing, remarked she, as she began to rub the cauldron with a handful of toads and snails. She then scratched her bosom and let the black blood trickle down into the cauldron, every moment throwing in new ingredients, the smoke from the mixture assuming such horrible forms as were enough to fill beholders with terror, and a moaning and groaning proceeding from it which might be compared to the weeping of crocodiles. The magic drink at length became clear and transparent as pure water. It was ready. Here it is,
said the witch to the princess, cutting out her tongue at the same moment. The poor little mermaid was now dumb. She could neither sing nor speak.
If the polypi should attempt to seize you as you pass through my little grove, said the witch, you only have to sprinkle some of this magic drink over them, and their arms will burst into 1,000 pieces.
But the princess had no need of this counsel, for the polypi drew hastily back as soon as they perceived the bright phial that glittered in her hand like a star. Thus she passed safely through the formidable wood over the moor and across the foaming mill-stream. She now looked again once more at her father's palace. The lamps in the saloon were extinguished, and all the family were asleep. She would not go in, for she could not speak if she did. She was about to leave her home for ever. Her heart was ready to break with sorrow at the thought. She stole into the garden, plucked a flower from the bed of each of her sisters as a remembrance, kissed her hand again and again, and then rose through the dark blue waters to the world above. What has she done? You can't help thinking this was a massive gamble. All for love. Will true love win? You'll have to tune in and find out next time. Hope you enjoyed that. Bye.